We are reaching the very end of our sort of step-by-step approach to getting ready to write a thematic essay. This is all the preparation work before we get started writing a powerful literary analysis essay about a theme in a story. And that's why we've been calling it reading work so far. And we've been going through several steps to get to this last step down here, step 6. And it says step by step instructions for collecting ideas. But as I'm sure you would agree by now, you've done more than just collected ideas up till this point. You certainly did collect ideas, but you've also developed them, um, evolved them a bit. And now we're going to think about even starting to organize them. And when we do that, we will be all set for drafting an essay. So that's where we are. Step 6, where you think about an effective and logical structure for your essay. And that's what I want to do today. That's the lesson. How do we build an outline that takes all of our great thinking about the story and sets us up to do some terrific, persuasive, logical, interesting writing about the story? Well, again, step 6, what do you need to do? First of all, once you've got your claim, that claim is going to help you decide what specific points you want to make in your essay. In fact, it's going to help you to see which points you need to make. And then, since it's a literary analysis essay, you're going to have to figure out which passages from the story you can use that will help you to support each point, yeah, through your interpretation, through your analysis. And I do recommend that you consider passages from across the whole text. This applies to whether you're writing about a short story or a very long novel. In general, when you're talking about theme, you do want to see it playing out in more than just one part of the story. You want to see it in several. Okay, this is going to be a kind of smoother than is realistic uh, example of building an outline because I've done a lot of thinking about this already. I don't expect yours to go quite as smooth on your very first go at it. You might be a little bit messier than I am here, but I do want you to get a sense of the kind of thinking you will need to do. So follow along with me here. Once you have a claim, the best way to think about breaking your claim into several parts is to start thinking about which topic sentences you're going to write for your paragraphs, right? You know you're going to need several body paragraphs, and each one's going to be around a specific topic. So let's think about that. Remember this claim I came up with for All Summer in a Day? One lesson the story suggests is that when people can't get over their own pain, they sometimes wind up hurting others. What possible paragraphs can you imagine for the essay that's trying to prove that this is a message that the story gets across to us? One lesson the story suggests is that when people can't get over their own pain, they sometimes wind up hurting others. Well, let's think about the different aspects or layers of this claim because that should help us figure out what to write about. First thing I noticed there is that it says when people can't get over their own pain, they sometimes wind up hurting others. So I think I'm going to need a paragraph where I can prove that in this story, there are people who are feeling pain. Hurting others is another part of this claim. So I think I'm going to need to show that in this story, there are people who are getting hurt, people who are doing the hurting, right? So that's possibly another aspect that I can dig into. And then this question, this word here, when people can't get over their own pain, they sometimes wind up hurting others. So that's another aspect that I'll need to get into, which basically connects the pain that some people feel and the fact that that leads them to hurting others. So that's another part of this claim that I'm going to have to prove as I do my writing. So there's the pain, there's the hurting others, and then there's this idea that one causes the other, that the pain leads to the hurt. So those are 3 elements to my claim. And if I think about it carefully, there's actually several ways I can organize my essay, even with those 3 elements that I've identified. There's a couple different ways to use them. Let's look at it this way. 1, pain causes hurt. Pain causes hurt. and pain causes hurt. This type of structure actually says this is the main thing I need to show, that there's pain in the story and it causes somebody to feel hurt, right? Or it causes people to hurt others. And if I can figure out three separate places in the story, or three separate ways that plays out, that could be a logical structure. So I could say that Margot has pain and that causes hurt, right? So her pain and the hurt that it causes. I could say the children's pain causes hurt. So that's their pain and the hurt it causes, perhaps the hurt it causes Margot. And then another way that children's pain causes hurt. Maybe it's the way it hurts themselves. So those could be three separate paragraphs where I'm looking at three separate passages, moments, and ideas in the story. Right? Their pain and the hurt it causes, maybe the way it causes pain to them. So that's one possible structure. But there's others. I could take that one concept of pain. Like I said, I'm going to have to show that there's pain in the story. I need to show that there are others who get hurt in the story, and I need to show that pain caused it. So this is a different structure. I could, in my first paragraph, talk about how Margot feels pain and how the other children feel pain. Then I could talk about how Margot actually hurts the other kids, and the other children hurt Margot. So those are a couple different points I can make in that paragraph. And then I've got to do this more tricky bit saying that it was Margot's pain that caused her to hurt them, and the children's pain caused them to hurt her. So it gets kind of complicated there at the end, and it may feel a little bit imbalanced, which makes me want to think of a new structure, but I do think this one could work. So what would be one last structure? Well, start by talking about that there's pain that children feel. I could say Margot's pain causes her to hurt. And then I could say the children, and I guess their pain, hurt her back. So this is kind of a sort of one thing follows the other kind of structure. It's a little bit less clear to me in my mind right now when I'm thinking about how this will look in the outline, but I feel like these points come after one after the other in a way that will feel a little bit more elegant in my essay. It'll feel like I'm sort of walking my reader through something more interesting. So how could I turn this into paragraphs? Well, the first one, the pain the children feel. Now I've got to go back and think through different passages, think through different moments, think across the whole text. I think that there are some details and description that Ray Bradbury used that show us that the children feel pain when they're longing for the sun, when they're sort of dealing with the dreary rain that's there constantly. They have to endure that. And then they have this painful jealousy of Margot. So there's a few different things I could write about in that first paragraph. What about the second one? Margot's pain causes hurt also. So, well, first of all, she's one of the children, right? And I've just said the pain the children feel. So she's also feeling pain. So I can lay that out there. And she's got her own pain, right? Because she has memories of the sun, and those cause her some grief. And then I'll need to show that I think the hurt of this grief is making her blind to her actions, that she's not seeing how she's actually hurting the children with her own actions. And then, of course, the children hurt her back. What do they do to her? They mock her. They lock her in the closet. I'm going to show that they're really swept up in their own pain, and it causes them to respond to her. So this is the structure I'm going to go with here. I've got my basic ideas. When I'm filling in the outline, it's going to need to be a little bit more detailed than this. The outline you're going to do is going to look a little bit different because it's in a Google Doc and not in a slideshow. But I'll show you what I'm going to do here, and I'll also show you what it will look like in your doc. Your outline is going to look like this. You'll have your claim at the top, and for each body paragraph, you're going to need to put in a topic sentence. And then you're going to think about the specific points that you can prove. 2 or 3 points is enough to support that topic sentence. And just like in your position paper, you're going to need evidence. In this case, all the evidence is going to be right from the story itself. So you'll be pulling out passages from the story. And then here in this third column, you've got a spot to put in some of your own thoughts. And these ideas here will turn into the analysis in your essay. This will turn into all the great writing you're doing. So there's 3 body paragraphs. And at the bottom, I'm going to include an example of it. So let me show you what that example is going to look like. As you fill in the outline, you have your main concept, right? The pain the children feel. If you can turn that into a full topic sentence, that's great. So the pain the children feel, that's from this first box. And I've already thought about how I can prove that the children in this story feel pain. There are details and descriptions that the author includes of their longing for the sun, of their endurance of the dreary rain, and of their jealousy of Margot. Those are some separate points that I can make. I'm going to turn my main point into a topic sentence. From the very beginning, the description and details in the story show the children's pain. Okay, this is my first paragraph. So it kind of makes sense that I start off with something earlier in the story. And I'm telling my reader how it's my interpretation that the author's inclusion of a lot of different description and details of the sun and the rain and their jealousy show us the children's pain. I've got passages for each of them, for the way they long for the sun, for the dreary rain, for their jealousy of Margot. In the outline that you have, it ends up looking like this. Topic sentence here. From the very beginning, the description and details in the story show the children's pain. I note that these 3 points are going to be how I'm going to prove this. They feel pain because they long for the sun. Here's my evidence of that from the story. And here's some notes that I wrote to myself about that pain, right? They have to write about sun in the school. They can't even remember it. It's frustrating. They even dream of it. Here they feel pain because the rain makes them desperate. That's another point I'll make in this paragraph. There's a quick quote. Here's a couple of quick thoughts that I have about this quotation from the story. Some things I can say about it when I write my essay. And then the last thing, they feel painful jealousy towards Margot. Here's a quotation, and again, a couple more points. So this is a full outline that can turn into a lot of good writing when I move to my document for drafting. So think about the steps that I took in this lesson today and figure out how you can turn your claim into 3 separate body paragraphs, each covering a different reason why your claim is correct. Break that topic sentence down into a couple of different points and start figuring out what evidence from the story you'll be able to use to support your points with the analysis that you're going to bring in here.